Hey guys, my name's Pearce and I've lived in Los Angeles my whole life. In this video, I'm going to cover 5 different categories of pros and cons for you to consider when moving to Los Angeles. Let's start by talking about the weather. The pros of the weather in Los Angeles are pretty straightforward. We have just shy of 300 sunny days every year, and the temperatures on average are in the 70s. In Los Angeles, you won't have to deal with things like shoveling snow or putting on a heavy coat just to leave your house. We also have lower humidity levels in Los Angeles, and studies have actually shown that high humidity levels lower concentration and increase sleepiness, so that's something to think about. Also, all the sun we get here will increase serotonin levels in your brain. People are more depressed in places that are less sunny. So overall, the weather is a pretty serious pro in LA. But to play devil's advocate, let's talk about the downside or the cons of the weather. If you're somebody who enjoys having all 4 seasons, you may think of LA weather as a little bit of a con because people say that we have 2 seasons here. November through March is pretty much what we call the wet season, and then April through October is what we call the dry season. As far as rain goes, Los Angeles gets about 15 inches of rain per year, which is less than half of the national average, which is like 38 inches of rain. So if you're a big fan of rainy days, that's a con. However, I think that if you live in a place where it rains a ton, you stop appreciating rainy days so much. I think one of the reasons that I love rainy days so much is because in Los Angeles, they're a little bit more few and far between. Another con is summers, but mostly only if you live in the San Fernando Valley. The valley will get super hot during certain weeks of the summer, so if you do live in the valley, expect to see some 100-degree plus days sometimes. But those are pretty much the ups and downs of the weather in Los Angeles. Very sunny, very good temperature most of the time, and there's not so many intense seasonal changes. You don't get the snow. You do get some autumn leaf colors, but not as much as you do in some other places like the East Coast. It's generally agreed upon that Los Angeles has some of the best weather in the world. The second category is transportation. Now, transportation in any major city with a large population is usually a con. In Los Angeles specifically, let's talk about the ins and outs. Starting with the con side, Los Angeles has some of the worst traffic in the US. New York, Boston, and Houston all have worse traffic though, so we're not number 1. As far as this breaks down in numbers, expect annual delays of about 46 hours in Los Angeles. So you'll spend about 46 hours or 2 days more in a car, driving or commuting in and out of LA than you would in your average area of traffic, I guess you would say. And this only equates to about $70 more spent on gas per year, so it's not too bad. Although that's a con to me, it's not really a deal breaker. In my personal experience, there are certain sections of Los Angeles that are just like constantly backed up, like the 101 and the 5 coming in and out of downtown, and the 405 freeway, especially where it meets the 10 or the 101. So if I have a lot of errands to run, I'll purposely just run my errands on a Sunday in LA because that's when the traffic is like super light most of the day. So it's really easy to just get back and forth between areas that are a little bit spread out if you do it on a Sunday. That's my little personal tip. And for transportation pros, LA does have a couple. There are several neighborhoods to live in Los Angeles that are super convenient even if you don't have a car. You know, a lot of people are commuting less these days. A lot of people are working from home, even if they're a business owner or if they, have a job. It's pretty common to see people working from home nowadays. And with traffic being bad, a lot of people are just deciding to stick more within their area in Los Angeles. If you aren't driving and you need to get around in Los Angeles, they have subways, buses, shuttles. They even have a whole underground metro system, and it's less crowded than New York's. And to top it off, we have those Lime scooters on like every freaking street corner if you want to like scooter around instead of walking, which is much faster, and I see a lot of people doing it. And there's bike lanes everywhere as well, so that's cool if you want to ride a bike. Moving on to our third category, we have cost of living. Now, I covered this in more detail in my cost of living in Los Angeles video, but for now, let's just make some basic comparisons. As far as pros, LA isn't even in the top 5 most expensive cities to live in the US. The median rent is less than cities like Boston and San Jose, coming in at around $2,700 per month. A good studio or 1-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles will cost you anywhere from about $2,000 to $2,800, depending on where you want to live. So when compared to cities like New York and San Francisco, it's actually pretty affordable. Gas is a little more expensive on average in Los Angeles, but compared to the national average, it'll only cost you about $300 to $400 more per year to drive in Los Angeles by spending $5.50 a gallon on gas, which it is right now. And then I would consider these cons. You have a state income tax of 9.3% for most people, and it goes lower or higher depending on your bracket, and a Los Angeles sales tax of 9.5%, which is pretty high. So those are two things that I would consider cons for the cost of living. On the flip side, more opportunity is available in Los Angeles, and the GDP is super high. So there's a lot of economic opportunity here, even though there's pretty high taxes. So that kind of offsets that to a lot of people. For category 4, we have quality of life. This is a broad and widely opinion-based category, but let's talk about the ins and outs. So Los Angeles has about 25,000 restaurants, about 100 museums, and about 180 parks. If you like the outdoors, there are plenty of beautiful places to go within Los Angeles, parks, hikes, and the beach. You can go to a lot of different outdoor areas all within Los Angeles. And then in addition, the food scene is incredible. You have so many choices because Los Angeles is like a melting pot with cultures from all around the world. So you're gonna get food options from all around the world, everywhere. And the entertainment scene is incredible. We're the entertainment capital of the world for a reason. It seems like every actor, musician, and influencer is all living in Los Angeles or has lived in Los Angeles at some point or lives in Los Angeles for part of the year. We have great concert venues and a huge selection of bars, art exhibits, and amazing history to see everywhere in the city. And as far as the downsides of quality of life, Los Angeles does have a bit of a well-known homeless problem. It's gotten worse since the pandemic, but homelessness is pretty common here, but I'll tell you the areas where you're gonna see it most concentrated. Of course, in downtown LA, especially near Skid Row. However, the northern part of downtown LA is actually pretty nice and clear of homelessness for the most part, depending exactly where you are, but there's some really nice, well-kept areas in downtown LA. It's more towards Skid Row that you're really gonna see a large concentration of it. And the city's been trying to address this, or people have been trying to address this with the city, but there's a pretty big homeless problem in Venice Beach right now as well. And then there's a decent amount of homeless people living in Hollywood right now, and over to the East Hollywood area a little bit as well, like near Sunset and stuff like that. And for our 5th and final category, let's talk about lifestyle. Nobody said if you move to Los Angeles, you have to conform to the ways, but there's a certain culture here that's like the Kardashian culture, and I'll explain it a little bit. So people get like tons of cosmetic procedures in Los Angeles, and this kind of culture and lifestyle of Los Angeles is to just look really, really good, be super, super healthy, so you're gonna have a lot of people that are just constantly going to the gym and trying to eat healthy and all those things, which is fine. There's some toxicity to it, but for the most part, it's fine. I think it's a pro and a con, depending on how you look at it or what perspective you're looking from. But I think that it's good to have all these juice bars and healthy food places and things like that on every corner, because the lifestyle and the culture is like that here. You have a lot of options to eat very healthy. The downside of this is it can be a little bit expensive, especially if you're looking at markets like Erewhon or places like Creation. You're gonna spend $15 or more on a freaking smoothie. On the bright side of things, there's like a variety of people with tons of different cultures and backgrounds and perspectives, obviously, in Los Angeles. So no matter who you are or what you believe in or what your opinions are, there's definitely a fit of people to socialize and be friends with in Los Angeles for you. If you're worried about making friends, that would not be a problem. So there it is. That's 5 major categories in Los Angeles and a little bit of my commentary on what the good and the bad is of those categories. And my name's Pearce, and I work in real estate in Los Angeles. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I post weekly videos about what it's like to live in Los Angeles and kind of what it's like to live in the different areas or neighborhoods of Los Angeles as well. So it's obligatory, I tell you, to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.